Warning: watch this video or you will regret it. Age 70 is supposed to be the time to enjoy old age, to rest after a lifetime of hard work. But for many people, 70 is not a vacation, but still having to work hard to make a living. They don't go to work to kill time. They go to work to live, literally, because if they don't work, they will starve. They have no pension, no benefits, and their children and grandchildren will struggle. And so they still have to go out, regardless of rain or shine, regardless of their failing health. Have you ever seen an old lady with a hunched back, selling lottery tickets in the hot midday sun? Or an old man with trembling hands pushing a cart of scrap metal in the cold night? Those images are not rare, and every time you see them, your heart aches a little. This video doesn't tell the story of anyone in particular. Rather, it asks a very real question. Why, at an age when they should be resting, do some people still have to work hard to survive? Retirement does not mean leisure. We often imagine that. When we are old, we will live leisurely, drinking tea in the morning, playing with our grandchildren in the afternoon, occasionally traveling. But for many people, retirement only means no more stable job, and poverty still clings to us. There is Uncle Tu, 72 years old, who used to work as a bricklayer, not paying social insurance. When he was old and weak, he was no longer hired. He switched to selling lottery tickets. He walked 7 to 8 kilometers every day, earning 80 to 100,000. Enough to eat, but not enough to make a backache. Or Mrs. Nam, 68 years old, who used to sell street food all her life. Now she still sells because if she doesn't sell, she won't have money for medicine. If the sales are slow, I go hungry that night, saving money to buy medicine for high blood pressure, she said, as if talking about a very normal thing. At an age when they should be cared for and resting, they still live like seasonal workers. No insurance, no guarantee of tomorrow. And the sad thing is, they are not lazy, they do not choose the wrong path, they just do not have the opportunity to prepare for old age. They spend their whole lives worrying about their children, then they get sick, then the price of goods increases. When they look back, there is nothing left but trembling hands and the burden of 3 meals a day. Old age, hidden pain. In big cities, it is not difficult to see old people still working, collecting scrap, selling lottery tickets, washing dishes, working as security guards. Some people choose to work because they want to exercise, but many people work because if they don't work, they won't have money to live. Don't think that they work because they like to work. An old man who works the night shift at a gold shop once said, "It's very tiring, but if I stay home, I have nothing to eat. I get $3 million a month, not much to live on." He said it with a smile, but his eyes were sad. The hardship of old age is not the work. It's that the body can no longer withstand the pressure, the mind slows down, but still has to stay up late and has to bear the burden of expenses like when they were 30 or 40 years old. Many old people still feel inferior because they depend on their children and grandchildren. They choose to work so they won't be seen as a burden, but sometimes they are pushing themselves to exhaustion just to keep a little self-respect. The question is, why does society let the elderly fall into this situation? Is it lack of policy, lack of preparation, or lack of care? Whatever the case, the fact is, there are too many elderly people struggling to survive in silence and forgotten by the very people they once sacrificed their youth to care for. Living long enough, but not enough to live. Working at 70 is not wrong, but if you work because you are forced to, that is something worth mentioning. No one wants to see their grandparents shaking their hands counting every penny, or working their backs in the rain and sun to earn a meal. To change this, two sides are needed, the individual and society. On an individual level, each person needs to understand that old age does not come naturally. It is necessary to prepare early, from finances, health, to relationships. Don't live just for today, only to be empty-handed tomorrow. And don't be subjective, thinking your children will take care of you when you are old, because reality proves that not everyone is that lucky. On the social side, Social Security policies need to be more substantial, especially for self-employed workers without pensions. Support programs for the elderly must be accessible enough so that they don't have to struggle to make a living when they are too tired. As for children and grandchildren, don't wait until your parents are no longer able to work to realize that you have been inconsiderate. A small amount of support, a little care every month, sometimes enough to keep the elderly from having to go out on the streets in their 70s. Because living to 70 years old does not mean that they have lived a full life. They only truly live when they are at ease, cared for, and treated with the respect they deserve. When working is a choice, not a necessity, we do not deny that there are elderly people who want to continue working because they love their job, because they want to exercise, because they want to feel useful, and that is completely admirable. But let's make a clear distinction. Working because they want to and working because they have to survive are two very different things. One is a joy, the other is a burden. The old man teaches extra classes even though he is retired, because he loves letters. The old woman opens a small bakery because she does not want her days to pass boringly. These are people who choose to continue contributing because they have a foundation, stability, and most importantly, the right to choose. They can quit whenever they want and still live enough. On the contrary, there are people who do not have the right to quit. They go to work because if they don't work, no one will support them. They cannot choose their career, their time, their circumstances. They do not dare to be sick, do not dare to rest, do not dare to dream. So how can we make working for the elderly a choice, not a necessity? First, financial education and insurance must be given early attention, even when they are young. Many people do not prepare for old age because they do not know where to start, or they are ignorant of their rights. Second, social policies need to cover informal workers, manual workers, street vendors, motorbike taxi drivers. They do not have contracts, do not have pensions, but their contributions are real, and their old age also needs to be protected. Finally, every family needs to learn how to plan for the long term. Sit down with your parents, ask them what they have, what they need, what they expect, and from there work with them to plan for old age. Because if you do not plan, the elderly will be the ones to suffer the consequences of indifference. Working in old age, if it is a choice, it is commendable. But if it is mandatory to avoid starvation, then it is the sorrow of an entire society. Old age, everyone wants to be at ease. But in our country, there are too many people who have to work at the age of 70, not because they want to be busy, but because they don't have enough to live on. They are not lazy, not incompetent. It's just that life doesn't give them the opportunity to rest at the right time. If you are young, start preparing for the future. If you have elderly parents, ask them if they are doing well. And if you think this story needs to be told again, help spread this message to more people. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel to speak up for the silent elderly. Because a civilized society is not measured by how successful young people are, but by how they treat the elderly.